Hello guys, it's your pal Joey.T. from the Cartoon.P here with another vlog straight out of my car. This time I've seen the animated film The Star, which only seems appropriate as this is December and we're going to be heading on to Christmas, so why not watch a movie about the first Christmas? I know I should have seen this movie a while ago, and it only seems more appropriate now that there's an app coming around called Stardust where you can film your immediate reactions, but I think I'm going to still keep this format. You guys seem to enjoy it. Maybe use that for like other movies and trailers, but focus on new releases, the animated films, and put them on my YouTube channel. So, as far as this film goes, this film is based on the Nativity. This is a well-known, well-regarded story, regardless of being Christian or not. I think it's worth noting that a couple times on my channel I've mentioned that I am Catholic, but I don't find a reason to ever really talk about my faith. To me, I find it to be one of those things that's a personal connection that people have. I mean, the idea of faith and sharing it to others is, to me, kind of odd, so I never really found a need to really talk about my religion unless it seemed appropriately for the sake of the review. Like, I had a Prince of Egypt review, so it only seemed fair to talk about what I knew about my faith and how it impacted me upon watching the film. So I think it's only fair as to talk about my faith in relation to this film. I'm going to say at some point later on in this video, but not now, only because I think it's only fair to talk about the movie. So, this movie utilizes one of the worst cliches in animation that I cannot stand, and that's the talking animals that no one else can hear. I hate that most movies that use this cliche never do anything original with it, and this movie's no exception. What do I mean? So you have the story of the Nativity, but it's framed with this story about a donkey who wants to ascribe to be something big and awesome. He wants to ride with the royal caravan, but he's held back by not being really good at stuff, and, you know, he happens to come across Mary and Joseph, who are also doing their own thing, going through the, you know, the scripture. So it's only interesting that you have this, but it did remind me of a movie I saw last year, which I cannot stand. It's one of my worst favorite movies, The Wild Bunch, which used Robinson Crusoe, and it used this same exact story structure. And to some degree, I think this one is a little bit better because of the story material being more accepted or more widely understood than, say, Robinson Crusoe. I think a lot of people know about this story, know about the Bible, and know about the story of Jesus, regardless of being Catholic or not, or Christian. So you got to give him some credit there. With Robinson Crusoe, I really don't know a lot of people who talk about the story of Robinson Crusoe, but it's still the same deal. The story is framed with these animals, and I'm just gonna be honest with you, it's not interesting, and you can tell a lot of kids in the theater didn't find it interesting. I think when a lot of people want to tell the story of the Nativity, they want to do it in a way that's accepted, you know, for family audiences, and the easiest thing that they can pull out of their hat is the talking animal scenarios, where you got animals that do their own thing and be like, oh, by the way, this story is going on, which is very much what happens in this film, and it's not interesting. I really don't care about these animal characters. At some point, you don't understand why they want to stick around Mary, other than that she's a nice character. Joseph, I'm gonna say I should take Joseph a little bit more seriously. I think I judge Joseph a little bit more because I'm named after the Saint Joseph. So when it comes to Joseph, it was brought up in my family that, you know, this is an important figure. Like, this is like something that I had to like know about in my life. So I take Joseph very seriously. And in this film, this Joseph was just very, he's kind of stubborn, and he's voiced by Zachary Levi, and what else? Oh, he doesn't like the donkey, so that's a character trait. One thing, though, that I thought was very interesting, because there was another Nativity movie that came out called The Nativity Story, which came out years ago, directed by the same director of Twilight, who portrayed the coming of Christ in a way where Mary has an immaculate conception, but upon first hearing about having an immaculate conception, Joseph is like, you have a child? Like, you're sleeping around with other people? You know, and he's taken aback. And it's until, you know, he hears from, you know, an angel that, no, it's actually cool. But upon Joseph finding out, and I guess because it's a kid's film, they don't want to go into the territory of immaculate conception, having a baby without sex in this film. So they wanted to take that away. So they made his focus be like, why me? Why did he choose me? Which, is a very common thing in the Catholic faith, the whole idea of believing in something that you don't see, the idea of forgiveness upon people that have had sinful lives. These are very common things that, are harped upon if you're a Christian, these things you know about, or even most religions in general. So, I thought it was interesting that they made his character sort of in that vein, but to me, it's just not interesting enough. And in some ways, I hate making comparisons to other films, but if you want to portray a Joseph, I think the Joseph played by Oscar Isaac in the Nativity Story was done better and was given a little bit more humanity than this one. Like I said, I'm judging my Joseph seriously because, hey, I'm named after Joseph, so I should take my Joseph seriously. Other than that, I really hate going back to talking animals, but that's all this movie does, is that you go back from the Bible and then you go to the talking animals and then back to the Bible story, that. And honestly, it just doesn't make the story interesting. It only makes it feel more contrived, especially when they've got the whole idea of joining a herd or having a herd. And to me, is it just, the most stereotypical cliche amongst all Catholic Bible films to use sheep? I know traditionally Jesus is the shepherd and whatnot, we are his flock, but the whole thing with you gotta always have a sheep in the movie. I get it. You're making a Bible movie, you want to have sheep in the film to play out this analogy. Fine. Honestly, I'm gonna go ahead and say that the one thing that really did bug me in this film, and this is just a personal gripe, is the idea of, got a little update, just gonna flip out of that. One thing that really bugged me is that in the movie, angels come, and for me, I just didn't like the way it was portrayed, because when an angel talks, and this is regarding most religions, when an angel gives you a message, that makes you sacred. That puts you at the level of being considered a saint. I mean, that's one of the reasons why you got Saint Joseph. I mean, at some point he's talked to by God to say that, you're supposed to take care of Mary, take care of Joseph. But then you got, in the beginning of the film, a mouse hearing the word of God. So wouldn't that make the mouse, in some ways, a prophet? Did that mouse become the prophet of his or her own religion? To me, that bugged me, is that the God just shows up and isn't very considerate about who he's talking to. Now, I do know, and I had to think about this because it's been a while, and I don't go to church all the time and whatnot. Like I said, I'm not too religious, but I do, my connection to God, that's my own thing. But I never really understood when you hear the message that go see Mary and Joseph, and then the God just shows up for the sake of the plot so that the sheep can go save Mary before the bad guys can, lets Herod know that he's born and have the baby killed. But you got the God showing up as the angel and then telling all the other people with the sheep, and they're like, oh, we gotta interrupt them. And it was just it was a plot convenience. It was just to me, it seemed lazy, because you got this sheep character that's brought up in the film, and she's supposed to be part of this flock, and they kind of harp on the Ice Age cliche of oh, we're all in this together even though we're different, so we're gonna stick together and do stuff, yada yada. But at some point, it's just a whole bunch of cliches and a whole bunch of stories that just have been done to death, and they're not interesting. But the only reason why I think this movie has been getting a little bit more positive buzz is because of the subject material. I mentioned this before to my friends and other people before this movie came out, and people were like, oh, this looks like trash, this cheap looking film. It's Bible films are a big deal, and Bible films for a lot of people get people into theaters. Anytime there's something with the Bible or dealing with the Bible, they used to be a really big deal. I mean, some of the biggest movies, like Ben-Hur, is considered a Bible film. Regardless of what you think about it, the impact Passion of the Christ had on the Catholic population is really big. Me personally, I can't stand that film, but I know from a lot of people who watch Passion of the Christ that it had a really big impact. Going as far as being one of the highest grossing R-rated movies. Another gripe I have with that film being the fact that it's so gratuitously violent, and as we now know about Mel Gibson's personal views on Judaism, a little bit of anti-Semitism, it's pretty obvious that you can't get that out of your head when you watch Passion of the Christ, that this man who's clearly an anti-Semite working on this material, and it is very distracting. But, you know, anything dealing with religion or dealing with the Catholic faith is going to get people to watch it. It's going to get people's attention. The Ben-Hur remake, I don't even think anybody really even knew that movie was coming out. I didn't even know that movie was coming out. But even like Prince of Egypt, you know, that was a big deal. So it's fair to say that it's the subject material and how it's handled. And because these cliches, while not... I mean, to me, I've seen it done to death, which is why I have a problem. For a lot of people, this is just common accepted animation tropes. So you got, you know, animation that's not the best. To me, it looks better upon individual frames, but not necessarily in motion. Decent animation with a story that for a lot of people is, you know, this is their life. A lot of people literally worship this story. Will make it feel a little bit more accepted to them, and that's why it's been generating like a mediocre meh response. But generally, for a lot of Christians who watch this movie, they probably have more of an impact, especially with younger kids who want to get them into like, this is good. This is definitely going to be one of those films that's going to be shown in Sunday school. So for a lot of kids to watch, you know that this is the what, you know, especially when it comes to material that's biblical, that's not violent. I mean, even in this film, they do mention the violence. And at some point too, like one line I thought was interesting, which is, why are we bringing frankincense? Because they got the camels that are talking, and they're like, so why are we bringing frankincense to a party? And that's actually a good point, because frankincense was used as a for death, and it's because the three gifts that are given to Jesus represent life, wealth, and death. And frankincense represents death, so why are you going to bring something that you associate to funerals to a party, which I thought was interesting, and I don't think a lot of people would have picked up on that, but I did, because, you know, this stuff was beating in my head as a kid, so whatever. But, like, I don't know. I'm going to go ahead and say, for me personally, I don't think I'm going to really care for this film. As far as Bible films go, and especially the Nativity, I think I actually really want to watch the Nativity story again. While that wasn't a great film, I did think it was better. It handled the subject material better than how this film did, but it's also being made for really young kids to get them into the faith. So in some ways, yeah, I guess it's okay. Me personally, I'm not going to watch it again. I'll just take my kid to church, to be honest with you, if I ever come to that point. And then having to show them this movie, I mean, hey, it's free. Go on Sunday, go watch a Christmas pageant. There's the story of Christ. There you go. But otherwise, I can't really give this movie a high enough rating or even anything. It's just kind of like a little bit lower. It might show up on my worst of list just by association to not being that good. I personally didn't like it, but those are my thoughts. Also, while I got you here, I just want to let you know that I've been starting to sell stickers on my Etsy store, so I'm going to put a link there below. I got some Game of Thrones stickers I'm putting up together. Got some superhero stickers you may want to check out, as well as this is something that'll get you interested in: Mickey Mouse, Donald, and Goofy stickers. Get a little bit of lighting in there. Go to my Etsy store, find out more information, and thank you for watching this video. It's always a pleasure making these videos. I'll be coming back with some more Cartoon Pools reviews. Just got to get them in my schedule, especially around Christmas time. Christmas expected videos, you know. You got it. Comment below. Let me know what you think. It's always a pleasure making these videos. Take care, guys.